The Battle of the Omarion Nebula was the first major engagement between the powers of the Alpha Quadrant and the Gamma Quadrant's dominating superpower, the Dominion. It was a preemptive strike launched by the Romulan Star Empire and the Cardassian Union on the homeworld of the Dominion's leading species, the shape-shifting Founders. The strike was a disaster, with Dominion agents who had long since infiltrated the powers of the Alpha Quadrant notifying the Dominion of the strike, allowing an ambush against the Romulan and Cardassian fleets. During the ensuing Cold War, the power that the Dominion held was nearly incomprehensible. Bent on imposing its own version of order within an ever-chaotic galaxy. After the initial exploration of the Bajoran wormhole destroyed the Bajoran colony of New Bajor, there were several insignificant Dominion attacks, which included an engagement between the USS Defiant and the Starfleet vessel USS Odyssey, which was annihilated. This led to the militarization of the Alpha Quadrant powers, preparing for a possibly inevitable defensive war. A secret alliance between the intelligence agencies of the Romulan Star Empire and the Cardassian Union was rectified. It was determined that with the elimination of the Founders, the Jem'Hadar, a genetically engineered species that serves as the leading arm of the Dominion, would be abolished as well. Whether or not this would be the case, it would certainly be a pivotal turn of the current hostile political situation. The Romulans' intelligence agency, the Tal Shiar, would provide both its own vessels and the ships of the Obsidian Order of the Cardassian Union with stealth technology. Cardassian law forbade the Obsidian Order from operating ships, so the latter had to secretly assemble a fleet of 15 Keldon-class vessels. The Dominion knew of the attack beforehand, infiltrating both intelligence agencies, seeing the operation as an opportunity to cripple the Alpha Quadrant further for future conquest. The launch of the joint Obsidian Order Tal Shiar operation brought decisive feelings within the Alpha Quadrant powers. Both the Romulan Star Empire and the Cardassian Union marked the mission as a rogue action and denied any prior knowledge, although both nations wanted to see if the undertaking would succeed. Starfleet Command, the exploratory, scientific, and military arm of the United Federation of Planets, did have prior knowledge of the attack, but decided to avert from the incursion. The Alpha Quadrant powers, after gaining knowledge of the coming offensive against the Founder homeworld, began preparations for a possible defensive war. Starfleet Admiral Todman ordered a civilian evacuation from Deep Space Nine, a Federation station by the Bajoran wormhole, and began to prepare the base for its defense. Commander Benjamin Sisko defied Starfleet orders to defend Bajor, taking the USS Defiant into the Gamma Quadrant in order to rescue Security Chief Odo, a personnel on the Deep Space Nine station. When the Tal Shiar and Obsidian Order vessels arrived at the Founders' homeworld, they found the planet to be completely undefended. The joint fleet fired upon the planet, and in the opening volleys, 30% of the planet's crust was destroyed. Unbeknownst to them, however, the Dominion had set a trap. The Founders had already evacuated from the planet and had left behind an automated transponder, transmitting false sensor readings. 150 Jem'Hadar fighters appeared from the Omarion Nebula, engaging the joint fleet, easily cutting through the shields and hulls of the joint Tal Shiar Obsidian Order fleet. The Jem'Hadar flotilla was effortlessly victorious. A few of the Romulan Cardassian armada persevered, and the fortunate survivors were sent to Dominion internment camps. The USS Defiant successfully rescued Odo and proceeded to cut through the Jem'Hadar fighters, soundly returning to the Alpha Quadrant. The Battle of the Omarion Nebula would have dire consequences in future events. The Tal Shiar was debilitated, and the Obsidian Order was entirely eradicated. The absence of the Obsidian Order would lead to the rise of the Cardassian Underground, a resistance movement to oppose the Central Command and restore the power of the Tatapa Council, who would eventually lead a coup against the government, reinstituting a civilian authority within the Cardassian leadership. The Dominion took advantage of the outcome, further manipulating political events in the Alpha and Beta quadrants. A war between the Klingon and the Cardassians ignited, with the Dominion being indirectly the cause of it. The first battle of Deep Space Nine occurred, with the Federation refusing to assist the Klingon Empire in their war against the Cardassian Union, eventually sparking the Federation-Klingon War. The United Federation of Planets was enervated in the conflict with the Klingons on the Battle of Sector 001 against the faraway Borg collective that existed in the Delta Quadrant. The Klingon Empire suffered extreme casualties in their fights against both the Federation and the Cardassians. The Cardassian Union would eventually become a puppet state under the Dominion, suffering from its war with the Klingon Empire and its inability to manage its own internal issues. The threat that the Dominion imposes on the Alpha and Beta Quadrant powers is vast. While the Federation had long known that there are dangerous threats in the galaxy, such as the Borg collective, the combination that the Dominion has over the Alpha Quadrant is much more so. The Bajoran wormhole connects the Gamma and Beta quadrants directly, and there is nothing to stop the Dominion from flooding the Beta and Alpha quadrants with its formidable ships, and furthering its goal to establish its vision of order in an ever-chaotic galaxy.